Thank you for listening to Two Girls, One Plant.
We're your hosts, Madison
and Jillian, and this week we're talking about variegation.
Yay, variegation.
It's such a hot topic. Everybody loves variegated plants. I feel like we had to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like something that we've been wanting to talk about because it's like such a sought after thing, and there's different types of variegation. But before we get into that, let's update. We haven't recorded in a while.
Yeah.
And we're in a new recording space today.
Still working out the kinks of the homegrown process, but It's really exciting, honestly.
Yeah, and we're at Jillian's house today. We are not recording with Jolted Media anymore. We did release a statement this last week about it. And we just want to thank them. They're super awesome. But we just felt like to have more, freedom with our own creation. It was just time to move on and take more ownership of our content. So we're just super excited, and there's going to be some kinks.
It's definitely a learning process for us, which is exciting because I love a new challenge, but also means you might hear some of those kinks along the way. So feel free to give us feedback. We always really appreciate it. And we also appreciate your patience as we kind of learn how to master this and create all of our own podcasts.
Yeah, so next few episodes, sorry if they janky, but listen, you love us, so who really cares about the audio, right? Right.
So since it has been a while, how's your week been? How are the plants?
So good. Let's see, what is new with the plants? Oh gosh, so what did I buy? I got my green spaces order. So we're going to do an upcoming episode, and I'm going to really hash out what happened with my green spaces order. But it finally came in. That was like the biggest update for me. And just been working a lot, lots of work. Yeah, that's really it. I've kind of tailored back on like plants for a second this last week, because everybody's watered and thriving. So I'm just like, okay, what else can I be doing? So yeah, not like a stressful week when it comes to plants, except for my green spaces order. Again, episode coming soon.
Right. Whole other story.
Yeah, what about you?
We've been doing good, honestly. I'm getting into the work schedule. Also, by the way, I can't believe you didn't include this in your update, but you and I met Tyler Thrasher last night.
Oh my God, yes.
That was pretty amazing.
Yes.
So we checked out a new nursery in town, Sacred Thistle, which was really great. I love finding new nurseries. I also got my first tattoo, which was a stick and poke inspired by Tyler Thrasher's art, which I'm stupid excited about. So I feel like that's kind of planty. Does that count as a planty update?
Yes. How's it your tattoo healing? How's it feel?
Honestly, I barely feel it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Because I've been wanting to get a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos either. Mm-hmm. And turned 30, and I was like, 30, I should get a tattoo. And
it's time.
Okay, stick and poke. And I want to look into the guy who did yours. So
yeah, he was really good. He was really nice. He talked to Alex about getting an apprenticeship. My partner who does our logo and a lot of art for a lot of people, honestly. But yeah, he was really, really gentle and explained the process to me. And it was really easy. I was really surprised.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Tyler was awesome last night. It was so much fun. We waited out in the cold.
Yep, but it was definitely worth it. He's
so
just as kind and funny and interesting in person. It was so cool to get to talk to him.
Yeah, so loved meeting him last night.
So we're talking about variegation, which, as we know, has caused quite an uproar in the plant community these past couple years.
Yeah, variegation's interesting. It's it's so highly sought after, but it's only with certain species, right? Because every plant I feel has variegation. And we're going to talk about different types of variegation, and it's is it because it's just so rare and hard to come by and people are snooty about variegated plants so they don't want to share it? Or is it just because we see these other ones that are so common that we're just Like, we're just so used to it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's like, okay, so I'm going to kind of get into the different types a little bit, and we'll kind of describe them a little bit more.
Yeah, you're the expert. Like, you've done a lot of research. I did a little bit of research about it, but you know a little bit more.
I don't know about a lot, and I do have, like, notes in front of me, so, but chimeral variegation, which I think is how you say it. That's my best guess. But
yeah.
Well, how did you say it?
Chimeral? Yeah, that sounds right. Chimeral variegation. Yeah.
So this is the type of variegation that most people are usually in search of and paying more money for. This is the type of variegation that you see in things like Monstera Deliciosas, like Albos, Pink Princesses, White Knights, anything like that. And the whole idea is it's just a difference in the chromosomal makeup. So bits of it can produce chlorophyll and bits of it can't. And the bits that can't are the bits that give you those really pretty white and green bits of variegation. But it's totally random. So there's no way to guarantee what that variegation is going to look like. It's really hard to reproduce it. You can't take seeds from a variegated monstera and get variegated seedlings. It's really random genetically.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of those types that are like super random, because you talked about like, the chromosomal makeup, right? So like that's like a genetic mutation.
Right.
So is that commonly found in like tissue cultures then, do you think? I mean, I would imagine so. Like if you're going to like take a plant that's maybe, oh my God, I found this plant and it has this weird mutation on it and we need to reproduce it. Maybe that's how like these plants are hitting that market.
I believe you can do it through tissue culture because it would retain the exact same DNA, right? So I think it would hold, and that's probably how people like Costa Farms are doing ties, honestly.
Costa Farms is doing ties?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we'll get into that in another episode.
Oh
but
my God.
Yeah, they're trying to do ties, and I think the only way that they can do it on that mass scale is through tissue culture. Like, how else can they amass so many? They're coming out in like 2021. It's not like they're coming out this year, but they have quite a large stock and have to be able to supply the country when they start to release, like they are now with the Raven ZZs. So. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can, but there are other reasons that people kind of avoid tissue culture.
Yeah, so. it's like the health of the plant or something is like affected, right? It's like not as strong of a plant. That's like the word on the street. Like when the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma like hit the market, what was it, like summer last year?
Yeah, even later, like I think people were getting tissue cultures like at the end of fall still.
Yeah.
Really though, it's just like less genetic diversity.
Okay.
So it's more likely. It's not usually as strong. It's not going to grow as quickly sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, I just wanted to kind of differentiate like tissue culture and like kind of help because like tissue culture and like the words genetics and chromosomes, and I'm just thinking of like these nerds in a lab coat, like in a lab.
It's true.
Like, yeah, it is. But that's like, I just want to paint a picture in my head for it. Okay. And they're just like, we're going to make these plants all variegated and sell it, and we're going to be millionaires. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. No. Yeah. Right. Though. Like, honestly, like we have a friend who works in a lab and like works with tissue culture and stuff like that. And it'd probably be pretty cool to like have her come on and talk about that specifically and like kind of how that differentiates from propagating through seeds or root division or things like that. But really the big part of chimeral variegation is that like rush for money. So people are selling things like, half moon monsteras because half of the leaf is white. But there isn't such thing as a half moon monstera. Like there's no guarantee that it's going to keep producing leaves like that.
Right.
It's really just a way to sell it because it looks really pretty.
Yeah. And like what's crazy is like these plants, like, yeah, they're like freaking gorgeous. And like, and a lot of the times it's usually just like white, cream, or yellow variegation, like little spotting, or half moon, like you said. Like the Albo variegata, like is like full, like white leaves sometimes. Where like the Thai constellation looks like a Thai constellation. That's what it was named after.
Right.
But if it has so much variegation in it, like if you buy a $300 plant, like a Monstera albo, and it puts out a leaf that's all 100% white, yeah, it's beautiful and it goes on your Instagram, but that bitch is going to be dead. It doesn't have any chlorophyll in it.
Yeah, right. It's not really that healthy. And they tend to be really delicate and they melt away.
Yeah, they like burn to a crisp.
Yeah, you want like a really balanced leaf. That's why I really like Thai constellations, honestly. I think it's a pretty good balance on most of the leaves. It's really nice.
I agree. But like I think it's, you got to be smart when you're like looking into plants like that, because it has less chlorophyll in it, like you said.
Yeah.
So if it's not getting the proper food from the sun, pretty much, like the sun is feeding it, and when it doesn't have the chlorophyll, like, yeah, she's gonna die. And so you just have to have a lot of sun, but like you said, you don't want it to melt away.
Yeah.
You got to find a balance.
Yeah, that plant just has to work a little harder.
It does.
So I definitely like variegated plants, but I agree. Like, definitely do your research before you spend a lot of money on something that's variegated, and kind of understand, what it means. Like, if you buy a bunch of seeds for variegated monsteras, are you going to get variegated monstera seedlings? Yeah. But there's another kind of variegation called pattern gene variegation, and this one's a little more popular.
Yeah.
And is actually, so it's called pattern gene because it's literally written into the genetics of the plant. Right. So it's very consistent, it's very stable, and it's a little more common. So these plants are a little less expensive, which is really nice.
Yeah, and these are like more found in nature. Like, these patterns aren't genetically mutated at all. The way you find that plant in nature is like how that pattern is made up in nature, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're actually developed that way, which is really neat. I know that there are definitely some hybrids, like some calatheas that have been cultivated, but a lot of calatheas even out and about, which is a really common form of this variegation. Things like rattlesnakes and Rhoseopictas, and honestly, just about anything in the Marantaceae family expresses pattern gene variegation. And they really do look like that out in the wild. It's really beautiful. Yeah. They've just developed this patterning to survive.
I was thinking about that. I went to Tagawa's a couple weeks ago, and they recently restocked all their houseplants. And I was looking at, exciting. And I was looking at all their Calathea and Marantaceae family plants, and I was just like, they all look identical. Like, and I think that's something like somebody you can like kind of count on. Like, you won't be disappointed. Like, you're not like waiting for a leaf to pop out and like, what is it going to look like? Is it going to have the variegation? Oh my gosh. Like, it's something that you can like not be disappointed by, which I kind of like that. Although some Calatheas, not all Calatheas, some Calatheas are very, very picky here.
Just a little fussy.
Have you ever seen like a giant, I don't even know, like plant of like a caladium? Like, I feel like my mom always had caladiums growing up, like in her like pots outside. I'm like, how do these plants do that and look like vibrant, like red and pink, and like there's like a black outline and purple? Like, I don't know. It's just like so crazy that they're just able to be the same exact leaf each time. I don't know. It's so cool.
It is. It's really cool. Like, I wish I knew more about genetics and how to read like plant DNA, or what the purposes of the patterning was. But I love that you can always count on like a beautiful Calathea leaf with each new one. Like, it's always going to look the same. And honestly, that's how you know it's like a real plant. It's not something like, I don't know. I've seen people do really silly like edits of plants.
Yeah. There was
to try and sell them.
There was like one plant. It was like a Calathea, and you could tell that they painted variegation. I think it was a Calathea, and it was like kind of trying to look like almost like a mix of like a white fusion and albo.
Huh.
It was so weird. And people were like, bitch, you've painted that. Like, miss me with that bullshit.
Definitely just trying to get some hits on Facebook.
Oh my gosh, so awful.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. So I do love the consistency.
Yeah.
And the consistency carries into our last category, which is, I like reflective variegation.
Yeah.
I think that just sounds nicer.
Yeah, reflective variegation. Yeah.
So
yeah.
This one's pretty popular. And I'm going to kind of refer to the notes for this because I don't want to mess this up. But basically, tiny air pockets form in between the lower layers of the leaves, which have pigments, and then the upper layers, which are unpigmented, which is kind of the more protective layer of the leaf. And those air pockets basically reflect light back out and tend to give these plants a really silvery, shimmery, like reflective variegation.
Yes. And it can also happen in the veins.
Yeah, absolutely. So like a really popular form of more like variegation would be a scindapsus in things like a silvery Anne or an exotica, where it is kind of random, but you can see that shimmery silver kind of throughout the leaf. Or in the veining,
there is the Friedeck, right? The Alocasia Friedeck has kind of like or not the Friedeck. What is it?
Yeah, the Friedeck too.
Yeah. And then the Gloriosum is another one. Shiny. I have a Gloriosum, and she's got like some shine to her. Super pretty.
Yeah, she's got those really thick, bold veins throughout the leaf.
I
They're
think
really beautiful.
we posted a picture of it today.
Yeah,
it's
yours.
on the Instagram page. Yeah.
It's super cute. They look so nice. And those like veinings are why those leaves are so popular. Like they look so textured. You know? And that's technically considered variegation.
It is. Yeah, I like the reflective variegation ones. Like it's just, I don't know. It's like, it's different. You're like, ooh, shiny. My plant has highlighter on it. Yes, bitch, work. Like
a little bit though.
That's what I always think of. And again, it's like kind of random still. So it's like kind of taking on the, what do we call that word? Chimeral?
Chimeral.
Chimeral variegation. It kind of like takes on that where it's like random in the spots. But it's still, like you said, creating those tiny ear pockets, and that's what's creating like that reflective, silvery, almost like mirror. Like I feel like begonias are another one. Like you see a lot of like shiny begonias, which I've like gotten back into shiny begonias.
Oh, they're so beautiful. They don't like me, but I love them so much.
I'm trying. They don't like me either, and I want to rekindle this relationship I have with them, and I'm really trying. That's my goal in 2020 with my plants, is getting back into begonias. Wish me luck.
It's true, though. They all do have that really reflective nature to the leaves, and it's usually for, like, low-light plants. So I was actually comparing I feel like this is a little off topic, but that's okay. I was comparing my begonia pavonina to Mickey's, a good friend of ours, and his was, like, 10 times more metallic than mine. Like, you could see the blue even in just our kitchen light, and you couldn't really see it on mine. Like, so much so that Alex noticed as he was walking by us.
Oh, that's cool.
And Mickey was like, yeah, I basically just deprive it of light. You know, I give it a little bit of light, but not very much. So it really has to increase its iridescence to capture as much light as possible. So I've actually since moved mine in the efforts of increasing that iridescence. And I feel like it's helping a little bit. It definitely looks a little healthier. But it's really interesting. Like, it's really just an evolutionary adaptation that they've come up with, which just looks super pretty to us.
Yeah. And that's like the best. Well, that's what plants are all about. We like buy plants because we find them attractive, or like they give us like some sort of like endorphin release. And if it like looks prettier, like I said, with a little highlighter on it, like yeah, I'm gonna buy that plant.
It's true. That's how I feel about my watermelon peps. Like there's a little bit of highlighter dusted on the leaves.
Yes,
it's lovely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've been trying to find one of those watermelon peperonias that are like more variegated. Brittany has one, and it's a watermelon peperonia but variegated, and it's variegated silver, so it's shiny.
Oh wow, that sounds so pretty.
And she has one, and I'm like, Brittany, come on,
just a leaf.
Give me a leaf. Give me a leaf. I'm putting it out in the universe. You listen to this podcast, you know who you are.
Yep.
Well, those are the types of variegation. Do you want to talk about like the reversion thing? Because I think like some people don't realize that your variegated plants can reverse like the variegation.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it really depends on stability.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about how like pattern gene variegation is like super stable, so every calathea leaf is going to look the same. But
Yeah.
your monstera isn't. You know, your pink princess isn't going to look the same. And that's part of the excitement with every new leaf. But it also means that it can revert. It really depends on your conditions and the plant itself.
Yeah. And like, I think, you know, the good rule of thumb is that the more variegation it has, the more sunlight it needs, but not direct light. Like, we never want to really give a lot of our houseplants direct light, you know, have it basking in the sun. But you do want to give it a little bit more than your other houseplants you do have. So the lighter it is, the lighter and whiter, the more sun you give. The darker and greener, the less sun you want to give.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of nice bright and direct light, and then keep your fingers crossed, you know? And I've seen people that buy like burgundy princesses and then, you know, they have it for a couple of months and it spits out a variegated leaf. Ooh. Like, it can really go back and forth.
Yeah.
Depending on the plant. So I know a lot of people like recommend that if your plant loses variegation in its newest leaf, you can cut it back. This is true for like pothos and stuff too. Like if you're, even like your Brazil philodendron, if it starts to just shoot out like black leaves, you can just cut back that vine and hope that it kind of pushes back out variegation. And the idea is to keep doing that until you get the variegation that you're looking for.
Right. That's a good idea.
You know, I don't know how much that works, but that's what a lot of people recommend for like pink princesses and Borsigianas and things like that to kind of encourage variegation.
Yeah, that's what I've heard is like as soon as you see like a full green non-variegated leaf come in, you just want to like trim that and like let it go because it's just going to help it refocus its energy on the variegation.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like, oh, I put out a green leaf. I didn't survive that, so I guess I got to put out variegated ones to survive. It's like it's learning almost.
A little bit, yeah. You kind of got to trick it and train it to do what it needs to do.
Totally. And I feel like we do that a lot with our plants. We like train them on certain things, and I think variegation is just one of those things that we train it on. Something I heard about, which kind of like, okay, this blew my mind, and I really don't know why it blew my mind. Because it's like something you don't think about. And like I thought about it as soon as you said burgundy princess. Like a burgundy princess is a very darkish red maroon color, or like a Bloody Mary is like a reddish color. Yeah. Prince of Orange. These are the leaves are colored, right? So there's no like pattern like these other type of variegations we talked about.
Right.
When it has a color full on the leaf, it's still considered variegated.
Yeah.
What? Like, I didn't think about that. Like, I don't look at my burgundy princess. I'm like, my variegated burgundy princess. Like, I don't think about that. Like, I'm sure if you were to, like, I don't know the Latin name for a burgundy princess, but if you were to say the Latin name and then variegata, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Well, it's just an iridescence, I think. I don't know if that counts, because I'm pretty sure like plants are only green because they're absorbing every other color in the spectrum except green, and that's what they're reflecting back out.
Right.
And so I would imagine, like, you know, if you take a Bloody Mary, it's just taking in all of the other colors of the spectrum aside from the red.
Right.
And because it's a full color across the entire leaf, like, I don't know if it counts. I don't know. Does it count?
I think it counts. I don't know. While I was doing my little bit of research, I found that somebody was saying like, no, it is variegated.
Huh.
I'm forgetting her name. Oh my gosh.
That's so interesting.
And I'm so mad I'm forgetting her name. She's like somebody who's like really like well known in the plant community too. I'm like the worst person ever. But she said that and I was like, oh my God, that actually kind of makes sense, where it's like variegation just is like more like the different colors, so to speak, too. It doesn't just mean like speckling, so to speak, like we commonly see or think of. It's more like it's a full pink leaf, or it's a full red or orange or green, like whatever color you want. That is considered a mutation of the chlorophyll.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So the chlorophyll is not completely green, right?
It's true.
So it's variegated. There's a mutation on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can definitely see that logic. That makes sense.
I don't know. Something to think about. Like, so
Yeah,
if you're just like, I don't have any variegated
Stoner
plants.
thoughts.
Like, I don't know. Just kind of like take a step back and look at what you have and be like, oh my gosh, maybe I do. And like,
Yeah, appreciate all the beautiful colors and all of the plants that you have.
Yeah.
I will say on like a more scientific note, because we did mention like variegata being in some of the Latin names. Mm-hmm. So the idea is if you see the italicized word variegata as like the second part of the Latin name, that species is actually found in the wild with variegation.
Ooh.
Otherwise, the variegated plants are cultivated, which is a little more common. And this is usually indicated by like variegata capitalized with the V in quotations, like single quotation marks.
Yep, I see that.
So it'll look a little different. But there is a way to kind of to indicate that in the scientific name of the plant. So you can actually tell if it's considered variegated botanically.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting. Sorry,
Right?
I was sneezing while you were explaining all that.
Bless you.
I was like trying to cover it. It made my blood vessels almost pop. Sorry. Oh my goodness. But that's interesting because like you always see that like when you're like whatever research you might do about variegated plants or plants in general, like you always see like a Latin name maybe pop up on a Google search. So I always wondered that, like why some things were like capitalized and quotated and at the end or maybe at the beginning of the Latin name. So that makes sense.
That's what it is, if it's in the wild or if it's man-made, which is pretty cool. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. So I want to ask top 3 of your favorite variegated plants. And maybe, and it can include ones you have or like maybe you want to get.
Okay, let me mix this up a little bit. I'll start with one that I have.
Okay.
So I really like my Ring of Fire.
Ooh, yes.
Just because the variegation on them is incredibly stable, actually. Mm-hmm. They typically put out variegated leaves, and it's really balanced the same way that a Thai is. So they're really stunning. I mean, even when they put out orange leaves, they're like really beautiful. So I've never seen a variegated Ring of Fire that wasn't absolutely beautiful. My second one would be... Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Pink Princess because it's really stunning and I don't have one. Yeah. And I do think the variegation on them is so beautiful. Like it's such an incredible pop of pink that you don't really see in plants normally. So I know it's a basic bitch answer, but like Philodendron Pink Princess. And then for my last one, I'm gonna put one that's really underrated but does count as variegated per our episode. So I'm gonna say my Tradescantia Zebrina, because it has a really beautiful shimmer to it. It grows like a weed, and I think it's just very underappreciated. It's very easy to find, and it's so pretty.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, how about you?
Okay, I would say for me, I am a sucker for pothos, and I'm a sucker for my Marble Queen pothos. That thing has a lot of variegation in it, and it's still pretty common. And it's really easy to get a hold of. But that thing, like, it puts out so many beautiful white snowflake-looking leaves. And it's just, and it trails. And, oh, my gosh, I love my Marble Queen pothos. So definitely that one is one of my favorite. And like I said, it's super common for people to find. Yeah. Especially if you want to get a really cool variegated plant.
They're super underrated. They're easy to find. They're easy to share. Like, they're so easy to propagate.
So easy to share and propagate. I've given people so many cuttings of that. I always bring it to plant swaps. My other one I would say is a Hoya Crimson Princess tricolor.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love mine. I have 2 of them. And that thing, oh gosh, when it grows a new leaf, it is completely pink.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't even put out all white leaves. It puts out like all pink leaves first. It's so cute.
Yeah, and then it fades to white and then eventually like a little bit of green. So, but it will still have the green, the white, and the pink in the leaf a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I love my Hoya Crimson Princess tricolor. And then what else? I would have to say, I'll give a basic bitch answer too. My Thai constellation.
But they're
I'm sorry. Like, everybody's so sick of Thai constellations because everybody's like, I love them and blah. It's really not me trying to brag. Like, I'm really humble about it, but like, I'm sorry. It's such a beautiful plant. Like, it just like makes me happy to look at it. Just, and I think it's the name. It's very romantic. Just,
it is.
It's the name. It's romantic. The
like
constellation.
A starry sky.
Yes, that's just so tender. So yeah, I would say those three are like probably some of my all-time favorite.
Those are good answers. Your Ty's actually on the Instagram, and it's like it's a baby, so it's nice because she's still like you get to see the fenestrations come in with the variegation too.
Yeah,
like every new leaf is a little different.
Yep. And it's putting out a lot of growth actually because I have it under a grow light spotlight, so that bitch is like growing like crazy.
Ooh,
it's
happy.
Awesome. She happy.
Aw, do you want to mention mosaic variegation before we sign off?
Yes, let's talk about that. Do you want to talk about it? Because I'm like not well versed in it.
I'll just kind of throw it in there because I only know the basics. There's a virus called the mosaic virus which can cause variegation in your leaves, and it actually looks really beautiful, but it's really harmful for the plant and will eventually kill it. It's also it's also very contagious. So if you do have it on one of your plants, it spreads pretty easily to your other plants if you have them all in close vicinity. So it's just something to really keep an eye out for, especially with this variegation craze.
Yeah, that's like kind of interesting to think about because like there's so many like, oh my God, there are so many like eBay and like Etsy and Craigslist and Marketplace, like all those like seller, like third party or like companies. Like there are people who are going to sell these plants and try and rip you off or sell you a sick plant. And like, that's just not cool. And you just got to be really careful, but you also take a risk when ordering online. Trust me, I know all about risk ordering online.
And you know what? I'm going to add, there's like a big box retailer, and I'm not going to like fearmonger. So I've only heard anecdotal evidence of this, but I have heard that one big box retailer actually has Adansonii that could have mosaic virus too. So it's something that just kind of occurs. Any greenhouse is susceptible to, viruses and pests and things like that. So just be a conscientious buyer.
What are like, do you know symptoms of it? Like what is like, how can you like tell? Because I know like for viruses, for most viruses, you can tell it has a virus if it looks like the plant is basically like being eaten and like almost collapsing within itself. So I'm wondering if it's kind of like maybe similar to that.
So all I really know is that it like really does almost look like variegation, except not quite, because it's not plants that should be variegated, and it doesn't really look quite as natural. So like if you look up pictures of the mosaic virus, you can kind of see it really like, I mean, the plants kind of look unhealthy. Yeah. Like, I would say, Oh,
wow. We're looking at pictures right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
we're pulling up some pictures. You can kind of tell if you know what true variegation looks like on, an Adansonii or on a Monstera deliciosa.
Right.
If you go into, your local Ace Hardware and you see a plant that is $10 and looks super variegated, if it's too good to be true, I would just always double check. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you hit the jackpot on something. Who knows?
Oh, because some people really do find some variegated monsteras, like Lobes and stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Always double check.
We're going to talk about this in later episodes, but I was listening to Tyler Thrasher's podcast, and he talks about how he landed on a Monstera deliciosa, and it looked sick. And he was like, nah, I'm pretty sure that's variegated. And they're like, nah, it's sick, dude. And he bought it. And it was like, hella cheap. And it like reverted in a way. But it's not reverting in a way. It's creating like a new, different type of mint variegation. that has never
cool.
been seen before in a Monstera deliciosa. It's not sick. It's not a virus. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear more about that, in the coming weeks, hopefully from him and like,
yeah, that's neat.
yeah. So I don't know. So like, but that doesn't happen very often to everybody.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Grace, a good friend of ours who we actually mentioned in our last episode because she has a fantastic Instagram account, but she found a variegated Monstera at the Herbery, which is like a local nursery that just on a fluke had some variegation on the leaf. The difference is it looked like true variegation. So it was actually like a few patches of a very light green, and it wasn't like this mottled green and yellow like all over the leaf, which is kind of more what you see in the virus. Like there's a very clear difference as long as you know what you're looking for and what each one looks like.
Right. And you said she found a Monstera deliciosa at Herbery?
Yeah, she found a variegated Monstera there. It's actually the son kind of told the dad that he was pretty sure it was a little variegated, and the dad was like, no, I don't think so. And she bought it and immediately was like, heck yeah, that's definitely what that is. So I haven't actually followed up to see how it's doing. But
we're going to have to ask her
cute.
about that. Grace, we're going to ask you about it. Well, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I hope you guys all learned a lot. Actually, before we came up with the name for this podcast, we debated calling it Sluts for Variegation because we just love the topic so much.
I forgot about that till now. Oh my God. Yeah, we were like talking about funny names.
Yep, and we're like, oh, that'd be fun because we could use the hashtag and people could share their variegated plants. But we're definitely kind of obsessed with variegation. So
how about this? If you post a picture on your Instagram and use the hashtag sluts for variegation, and we'll share it on our stories this week.
I would love to see that. If any of you are sluts for variegation, let's go. We're gonna bring the name back. We're gonna
bring it back. She's coming back just for this week. Oh my God, I love that. That is hilarious.
Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. Make sure to check out our Instagram, 2 Girls 1 Plant Podcast, and we'll of course link our personal Instagrams down in the show notes below.
Yeah, and any other resources that we talked about today, anybody, shout outs, anything like that, we're gonna link everything.
Everything.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.